Yeah, welcome to IBC. My name is Michael and I work for Avid and demonstrating Media Composer in conjunction with Media Composer Enterprise, Editorial Management, and a lot of the new features all around the post-production workflow. So on that booth we do have obviously the new version of Media Composer 2019.9 connected to Nexus, and in the background I'm running my editorial management server. But in the beginning, let's start with Media Composer Enterprise. So what's Media Composer Enterprise? Media Composer Enterprise is a Media Composer fully featured with Symfony color grading, news option, phrase find and script sync and all together. But the good thing is you can make it easy for your customer, for your users, and reduce the functionality. So may you have a specific user group which should be limited to a format or to some functionality. And as an administrator, that's the show live. So as an administrator, you can easily log in, and for a user group or for a specific user, you can set the functionality. And let me show it to you. So I simply go to my web browser and connect to my Media Composer Enterprise admin interface. So on the left-hand side, you can see I do have a group rights, and let's focus on one of my individual users. So I do have Harry here, and Harry do have maybe some tools or functionalities enabled or disabled, and maybe the most obvious thing is in the format settings. So that is all the range of formats that usually is supported by Media Composer, like up to 16K. So that might be enabled, but if I'm like a journalist or someone who's just working in HD, the interface would be much easier if I only have my HD resolution. So I can very specifically go in here and say, okay, currently I'm only allowed to work in 1080i 50 or maybe in 1080i 59.94. Or on the output side, I may be allowed to export to a file, so I can enable that. Or if I check for my tracks, currently I'm allowed to use up to 4 tracks, but as an administrator I can say, no, you're only allowed to use with 2 video tracks and 8 audio tracks. As well, we have the codec section where I can go deeper in there and say, okay, all my rendering are only going to DNX HD, and then I can save out the definition, and the next time the user is logging in, it only sees the available functionality, codecs and formats in the Media Composer. So for example, I'm currently logged in as JP in my Media Composer. So if I go to my Media Composer and check the formats that I have, you can see I do have most of them, but 2K is missing. And we restricted that user, JP, not to work with 2K, but with work all the other resolutions and, of course, all the other functionality. So Media Composer Enterprise can really make your life easier because you simply could do less mistakes by having the default structure, the default codecs, the default project settings. But let's have a look at the other nice things that we have here, like editorial management. Editorial management is really, it gives you the look into your Nexus system. So if you used to work with shared bins and projects, you can simply log in with your Chrome browser to your editorial management server. And I'm going to log in as Michael. So I'm logging in, and what I will see in a second is all my Nexus workspaces. So I do have a project workspace, I have a media workspace, and if I open up, I see all the available projects which I currently have shared on that specific workspace. We can compare that to Media Composer, which I'm running here in the background. So if I close my project, I come to my project fence window, and as you can see, I do have my Balubali, I have my dentist, I have my DJI drones, my editors, and a bit further down I do have my cooking show, which I want to use as an example here. So going down to my cooking show, you can see all the different bins. So this is a bin, and you can see some bins are already open, so they do have a lock sign in there. I've created my own folder, so I can go in here and I may want to lock my bin, so now it's green, so I have the user rights to do my editing inside of that bin. I already have selected a few shots, but of course I can use the search to search for some clips. So I can use the metadata search, I can search in the name, as well I have the option to search in the phonetics. So for example, it's a cooking show, I may want to look for my, for something mentioned about tomatoes. So I type in tomato, and because that is a phonetic search, the system will search inside the audio. So I find Marlene here, and if I open up the Marlene shot, I can check the hits, and in the phonetic area I get 2 hits here where tomato is mentioned at a certain confidence level. So if I'm going to like to use that shot, I can simply drag and drop that over to my bin. So doing it like that. So I add that shot to my list and I get it in my selection here. Okay, now I do have my shots here. What else can I do? I can load that clip and set an in and an out area and create a subclip out of that. So that subclip gets stored here. Can refresh that, that's coming up. As well, I can select my clips and can create a sequence out of them. Give it a name. I can rearrange the order before I submit it. And the system is creating the new timeline for me. I'll give it a refresh. So where we are, there's my cooking timeline. I can open up the timeline. I can use my trimming tools to shrink that down. I could go even in here and add markers to it and add comments. And all of that is, of course, stored in my bin. So having done that, I could check within Media Composer. So that is my Michael IBC 2 bin. So if I jump back to my Media Composer, open up the Marlene cooking show. Maybe I'm logging in first. So as well with Media Composer, I can log in against the Editorial Management. Yeah, if I do the typing right. So once I'm logged in, I do have the same search capabilities that I've showed before in the web browser within my Media Composer. But we want to prove that the bin that I've just created is there. So that is my Michael 12 bin. And let's go to my basic view. Where's my bin? Yeah, so that was the IBC 2 bin, and that is where I do have my cooking sequence. I can open that up. And you can see I do have now my timeline here within the Media Composer. Okay, what else can I do? A new functionality that's coming into the Editorial Management as well is the logging pane. So if I do have like this cooking show, I can go in here and I can start and create some templates. So I've had a preset of one, so you can see for the cooking, I may have things like the presenter or maybe the credentials that I want to use. Or if you may have a sport event, there might be some actions or some drop downs that you can choose, and then you go to the logging station and you can create a new session for logging, give it a name and save it out, and then you can simply combine the session with that, or use the real-time timecode to do that, and you can log in events. So very easily you can select whether your presenter is there, or maybe you extend that a little bit. Choose your credentials like the beans or tomatoes, and it's all showing up and going into the logging database. So Editorial Management is a very easy to use tool in the web browser that you can use standalone somewhere in your network or through VPN line, but you can use it as well inside Media Composer. So I do have the Editorial Management window. So I have all the browsing functionality, which makes it much more easier to open up bins and projects. And you have the search functionality to search for the phonetics as shown before in the browser. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. Please pass by at the IBC booth, say hello, and if you have any further questions concerning Media Composer, Editorial Management, come to see us here in the team at the booth.